Hi everyone, we are One Voices, and today we are going to be interviewing Jeffrey and asking some questions. I'm Ashley.
Hi, my name is Ali Adam. I'm from Turkey.
And hi, my name is Ali, and I am from Mexico.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeffrey and I'm from Uganda, and I'll be the interviewee for today.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the first question. So we know for a fact that there are a lot of protests going on in Uganda about as a response to corruption in the government. So do you think those protests are feasible solutions to that problem, ongoing problem, or what are other options that youth voices around the globe can utilize to as a response to corruption?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a bit of background context: Uganda is a dictatorship, and it's run by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who is a dictator. He has been in power for over 35 years, and of course, he employs a style of not really listening to the people. He's more of, an imposer. He imposes policies on the country. So I would say it is literally one of the very few ways in which we can push for change, and that's through protest. Because conversations with government, petitioning, things like that, they don't really get things done here in Uganda. So we normally have to take it to the streets. We have to do a lot of groundwork, background work to try to get anything to happen. And yeah, the issue of corruption is actually big. Corruption is big everywhere, but if your country is like ours, in that its economy is struggling, corruption becomes much worse. So it's definitely a thing that we need to fight as the youth. And yeah, I think the youth should play a very big part in this, because the people that are in power currently, it's not really effective. And we, the youth, are almost 80% of the population. So if it's not protests, I guess we can just get to inform ourselves about these issues, because in the future we are the ones to enter these governments. For now, I think the best issue is to protest against these things, and try to make it uncomfortable for them to steal even $1 from the system. Yeah.
Thank you really for sharing that. I think that we agree with you, because youth activists play an important role in our society, and I'm really glad that you recognize that. And regarding this role that youth activists play in having democracy and fighting for it, how do you think it feels to be a youth activist? Do you feel safe raising your voice, or is it something that puts in danger the youth?
All right. Yeah, you mentioned I'm a youth activist, so I'd like to explain that. I'm actually a writer. I like to call myself a Pan-African writer, which means I write about issues in the African continent. And my form of activism is through the pen. And my website is jeffreygerald.wordpress.com. So yeah, I definitely don't feel safe. Actually, when I began, I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to put my work out there. But then, I started getting concerns from friends, and be like, you've seen memes like, you post anti-government stuff all day, then at night you just hear a knock on the door, things like that. So it was brought up to me that it could actually be risky. But then I thought to myself, as a youth activist, I don't really have that big of a voice, because the government doesn't really, pay attention to us unless we're in big numbers. So it's definitely not that unsafe, especially if you're youth. But there have been cases of older activists who are not really youth, or who are like around the age of 30, 40. Those now are actually in real danger, and are arrested, exiled, things like that, right? On a regular basis, and arrested, house arrests, prevented from leaving their homes to like, let me say, Kizza Besigye is going for a rally to rally his supporters. He is a key opposition figure in Uganda. Then news gets out that he's moving, and then the police comes and blocks off his home at the gate and he can't move out, right? So for youth activists, I say we aren't a threat. You know, we try to put out as much work as we can, but it's a dictatorship. So it's going to take a lot more than activism. It's going to take, you know, systemic changes from political actors, from the international society. But we as youth activists feel that we have a big role to play, and we are simply contributing to the big fight that's at hand.
I agree. I think there's a lot of work to do, but we really want to recognize the bravery that you have and other people in your country have for, raising their voices. And I think it would be very nice to share your website so more people can know what you do as a youth activist. I think that's very nice. And my last question is, oh, sorry. Are you going to say something?
So how can I share it? I'll send you the link, right?
Please, and then we'll share that with everybody. And about the other topic that I wanted to talk about is Pan-Africanism, because that concept, I remember that you brought it in our family time. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Would you like to address this topic?
Yeah, so Pan-Africanism is kind of like cosmopolitanism, but for Africa. So it's like Pan-Africanism is basically you want what's best for Africa and you unite to that cause. So we as Africans, we want what's best for Africa, and therefore we are going to unite and think of ourselves as one so that we can push for a common cause of improving our current situations in terms of economic and social. Yeah, so it's an idea that was heavily pioneered by Kwame Nkrumah from Ghana, he was once a leader in Ghana. I think he's late right now. So basically it entails the fact that we have to break the bondages of colonialism, right? That was the first step, break the bondages of colonialism. The second step, consolidate the independence we will have attained, like from breaking the bondages of colonialism. After breaking those bondages of colonialism, we are also going to after attaining independence, we're also going to break the bondages of economic colonialism, which is neo-colonialism, which is basically influence from outer sovereignties on our own economic situations. Then step 4 will be to advance or to progress in terms of development. So definitely it doesn't mean removing all the borders from all the countries and having one big Africa, speak one language. No, it doesn't mean that. It means as Africans, we have to be thinking as a unit and ensure that we support each other. We address issues on an African scale rather than on a national scale. And that was actually what the system was before all this colonialism. Africa was mainly a socialist country, a socialist continent. Like, people thought in community, like, there's a common phrase from South Africa called Ubuntu, which means togetherness, in togetherness. So basically, togetherness was a very big thing. But of course, after colonialism, they brought these divides, all that separation, and it wasn't really beneficial to us, but it's what they claimed was what's best for us. So we changed from that to this kind of independence, and we are not really progressing as far as one. So basically, many people believe that the way forward for Africa is to unite and think as a collective. Yeah, that's what it is.
That is such a powerful ideology and movement, and it's very interesting to learn more about it. Thanks really for sharing. And now we're going to move on with Ashley. She has some questions, and let's hear her.
So one question that I have is, which policies do you think are most urgently needed to be changed, if that makes sense?
In Uganda? Yeah, definitely. So first of all, I think the age limits the presidential age limit is something that needs to be removed, because it's giving the president so much power to remain in in power, basically. So the age limit was lifted by the president himself, the current president, to facilitate his goals of, extending his term. So I think that's very urgent to remove. Then also that presidential term limit, it used to be 2, then it was increased to 5, then it was scrapped completely. So yeah, basically, I think most of the problems stem from the top leadership. Of course, there are many systemic problems, but the top leadership, I believe, is one of the reasons why there's such problem in Uganda. It's because they don't really think for their people or for the citizens. They think for personal benefits, right? So I think we need a new president, first of all, to just cut it short. We need a new president, and that's like a policy I could change. Then if it's other policies, not really much, but I think that like for me, I'm personally passionate about leadership, and I feel like once we solve the problem of leadership, so many problems will be solved.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for answering those. On behalf of Jason, who's unfortunately not here with us, I'll ask some questions for him. What is the situation with COVID like right now in Uganda, and how do you think that, like, what do you think of the government policies for COVID?
All right, so currently, COVID is not. We don't really think about COVID these days because we don't even wear masks at all, and we don't really fall sick of it too much. Actually, we do fall sick of it sometimes, but you simply brush it off as a flu, or you just get normal flu medicine. So even from the start, COVID wasn't all the hype here. Of course, we went through lockdowns, but quickly we realized that we actually had some kind of immunity towards it. So we didn't die as much, or we didn't catch it as much. All right. So, but definitely the government handled it very well. It's one of the few things we handled well, in that there were lockdowns, there was a dead year. I didn't go to school for almost a year, which wasn't good. But of course, later we started to learn online. Yeah, they really enforced mask policies for some time. Of course, after realizing that it wasn't that lethal in Uganda, they relaxed in the policies. But of course, the biggest problem was corruption, in that the money that was aided Uganda to fight against COVID, it was a big part of it was squandered. And yeah, so basically, you find instances of the government buying cars so that health workers can move. So they've sent money to buy vaccines. So you say, I'm going to buy pickup trucks to transport the vaccines. The money that's left, you don't buy enough vaccines. So basically, there was mismanagement on that side. I think another policy that could have been improved was the policy of DEDIA. The government is like in Uganda, we are not really, okay, the government didn't take the issue of digital learning very serious. And because of that, many people dropped out of school, especially in the rural areas. Of course, many schools, like us who study in the urban areas, we carried on our learning online. But of course, we think for those also who didn't have the same opportunities as us. So definitely it was the issue of digital learning was mishandled, and only recently is people starting to realize the importance of digital learning. Policies concerning healthcare, I think they did not force the vaccination on everyone. I don't know if there are countries where vaccination is mandatory, but here in Uganda, it's not mandatory. They encourage it, they push for it. Many people got it, but it's definitely not. It wasn't forced, because the biggest percentage of Ugandans are Christians, and of course there was that speculation about the vaccine is the mark of the beast, things like that. So of course many people didn't want to take it, and they ended up not taking it. But yeah, we were generally resistive to that vaccine, and but I think slowly by slowly we're starting to accept that it's actually a true vaccine. It's not some kind of float to I don't know, the mark of the beast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. One last question. So how do you think that COVID specifically affected like the economy in Uganda, and how quickly was Uganda able to recover from like the economic like side of it?
Okay. Yeah, we were definitely affected badly because not really badly, like catastrophically, but yeah, the effects were bad, especially on those who lost work. I know many people whose parents lost work completely, and of course you're forced into odd jobs to try to earn a living, because the movement was cut off and the economy slowed down because people couldn't move. And yeah, I think we were lucky in that we were lucky because the whole world was facing COVID, at the same time. And so comparative to other economies, our economy was degrading at the same rate. But if COVID was in Uganda alone, then maybe it would be very worse off, but it was affecting the whole world, together. So yeah, we definitely turned to agriculture because you're at home and you don't have what to do. So we look to agriculture, we grow our own food. It really reminded us of the old days of, community, looking out for each other. COVID was supposed to take us apart, but it actually brought us together because you find people who are working in different parts of the country come together, and they're in one place, and you get that chance to experience how it was back in the days. These days everyone's so busy, there's no sense of community. But yeah, I think we are still recovering from the shock of the COVID-19. I think right now our biggest concern is the Ukraine war because fuel prices are really high. I think they're entering around $2 per liter, which is a lot, and many people have parked their cars. And specifically, specifically COVID, I think we are back up and running, and the economy is as busy as it was before COVID. So I think we are recovering really well. Of course, there's that development that we need to catch up with because during the COVID lockdown, we slowed down. But yeah, we're definitely back up and running, and yeah, I think the trajectory is good right now.
Well, we are glad to hear that. And we also want to thank you for your time and for being the voice of today's episode. And we also want to thank you for being so open and so honest in your answers and, contributing to this community that we're trying to create and to this empathy that we're trying to also spread awareness of. And in our
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the interview and for picking my mind.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.